Okay, good morning and welcome to ARL's Coffee and Conversation, Keeping Pets and People Together webinar. My name is Petra Raposo, Development Associate. Before we begin, I'll mention some housekeeping items. Attendees will remain muted with their cameras off, but we do want to hear from you. Please enter any questions into the Q&A function and we'll address as many as possible at the end of the program. There will be links in the chat with additional information on some of the topics we discussed today. Closed captioning is also available by clicking on the CC Live Transcript button, then on the Show Subtitle button. We have a full house today, so I will jump right in with introductions to our panel. There we go. First, we have Emily Ballard, Operations Manager for our Community and Shelter Medicine programs.
Hi, everyone.
We have Sam Fink, Director of Community Operations.
Hello.
We have Kaylee Bloomgarded-Bredden, Director of Animal Care Operations.
Hello.
And Lainey Nee, our Animal Behavior Manager.
Hello.
Welcome, everyone. So today we're going to talk a bit about the programs and services that ARL offers to help keep pets in their homes and out of shelters, starting with the Spay Wagons.
Excellent. Thanks, Petra. Hi, everyone. I'm Emily. I am our operations manager for our community and shelter medicine programs with ARL. Our Spay Wagon is one of the programs ARL offers to help combat overpopulation in our communities and also provide spay-neuter at a low cost. So it began in 2000 as a mobile veterinary clinic providing low-cost spay-neuter for cats and dogs. And what makes the Spay Wagon so great is that we can travel to locations throughout Massachusetts and really meet people where they live and be more accessible in that way. Throughout the years, we've traveled to various locations throughout Mass. Right now, we're primarily stopping in locations along southeastern Massachusetts, so Boston down to Cape Cod. And this one pictured here is one of the ones we do try to travel to frequently, the Franklin Park Zoo. It's one of our popular destinations. We try to go at least once or twice a month to provide low-cost spay-neuter in that area.
Thank you, Emily. So who can make an appointment with the Spay Wagon? Do you need to be a resident of the town where the Spay Wagon is parked?
You do not. So you don't need to provide any proof of residency. You don't need to provide proof of income. The only thing that is required is an appointment for your pet.
Gotcha. So I'm thinking about making an appointment. What can I expect?
So appointments can be made on our website. They can also be made over the phone. But once an appointment is made, clients receive an email that basically outlines what they can expect for their pet for the day. Clients bring their pet they meet the Spay Wagon on location. Typically drop off is in the morning. The veterinary team goes through what they can expect for the day, does a full check-in, and then loads all of the animals onto the van. And then clients will leave for a couple hours. So during that time, their pet's going to, of course, be spayed or neutered. They're also going to have a brief veterinary exam. They'll receive a rabies and distemper vaccine if they need them, a nail trim, and they can also elect to add on services. Cats can get a FELV, FIV combo test. Dogs can get a heartworm test, and then we can also add on microchips. And then clients come back that same day. It's usually in the afternoon to pick up, where the vet team will give them guidelines of what they can expect for their pet for their recovery.
Great, thank you. And a quick plug just to microchip your pets. Microchips are so valuable in reuniting lost pets with their owners. So for anyone listening, if you have a pet at home, especially a cat or a dog, make sure you microchip them and make sure that contact info is up to date. So thank you for sharing that, Emily. So if I am just looking for more general care for my pet, maybe they're already spayed or neutered, but I need exams, things like that. What are my options?
So ARL, of course, in addition to the Spay Wagon, we have our Boston Veterinary Care. That's our general practice, but we also have our Wellness Wagon, which is another one of our community programs. It started in 2018, and the Wellness Wagon is another mobile veterinary unit providing low-cost preventative care to residents of Dorchester, Roxbury, Hyde Park, Mattapan, and East Boston. So for $10, pets receive a physical exam. They'll also receive their rabies vaccine if they need, a distemper vaccine if they need, flea treatment, nail trim, and a microchip. And dogs can also receive a heartworm test.
That's an incredible resource for folks that may struggle to come up with a couple $100 for a vet appointment. And the wagon also comes directly to those neighborhoods, correct?
Yes, so we have partnered with the Action for Boston Community Development, or ABCD. They have various locations throughout the greater Boston area. So the Wellness Wagon travels to 3 or 4 of their locations each week to meet people and residents where they live and just be easier to get to provide this low-cost care. And our goal is really that by providing this low-cost preventative care, it helps prevent people from having to pay higher medical bills for their pets, which hopefully also makes them able to keep their pets at home and out of shelters. But we do understand the Wellness Wagon is not a full-service clinic. So there are times where we do see cases that may need a little bit more veterinary services. So we do hand out flyers and information to clients with recommendations and resources within Massachusetts that may be able to help, just depending on the case for the animal.
Gotcha. Thank you, Emily. So Wellness Wagon really hit the ground running in 2018, was building up a client base, and then 2020 happened. So animal shelters across the nation were in a tricky spot during the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic. It was a scary time, and ARL wanted to balance protecting its staff, responding to the needs of our communities in a meaningful way. So Sam, could you talk a bit about the ways that COVID affected pet owners?
Yeah, so the pandemic affected people in so many ways, but families who were already facing financial, housing, and job insecurity saw the most immediate impacts, and that includes their pets. As Petra and Emily mentioned, ARL had just started working to support families in these identified neighborhoods of Boston with the Wellness Wagon and the Healthy Animals, Healthy Community Initiative. And we wanted to make sure that we were doing everything we could to continue to support these families through unprecedented times, while still ensuring that we were following guidelines from the state and making sure that the staff were safe. So we leveraged our greatest asset, as Emily talked about, mobility. And ARL adapted programs and resources to help keep pets in their homes and out of the shelters during this time with the Keep Pets Safe program that's supporting animals facing emergencies, which offered 3 key services to eligible individuals and families: pet food delivery to clients' homes and partner-supported community housing, a program that has continued to grow to this day. Transportation to essential veterinary care. The Wellness Wagon stopped going out into communities because we were trying to follow guidance, but we wanted to make sure that the families that we already had offered and promised that we'd be there would still be able to receive care when they really needed it. So we provide transportation so that the Wellness Wagon staff could still see clients on a case-by-case basis. And then emergency surrender services with pickups for those in need. Those last 2 services were no longer needed when we continued our routine operations. We've always offered surrender services to pick up and drop off animals since before 2018. But the pet food has something that really has continued, and we saw that there's a continued need for individuals.
And so who is eligible for that SAFE program?
So to qualify, clients must live in either Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, or Hyde Park. And this was done to really focus and provide a multitude of services to the same families that we saw were in the greatest need of support to help keep them staying with their pets and to be able to refer people to other programs or to support individuals who are already using our programs. As part of this, we also began offering pet food at ABCD food pop-ups events in East Boston, Mattapan, and Hyde Park.
Great. It makes sense that folks dealing with food insecurity themselves would also encounter that same problem with their pets.
Absolutely. And many people tell us that sometimes they have to make a decision whether or not to buy pet food or additional food for their families. And ABCD does such an amazing job to link families with available resources in the Boston area. We already had this partnership through the Wellness Wagon, so it really just made sense to build on that. And we've been able to really grow the program and work to support these families. ARL also did a food drive for SAFE this year called Keep Pets Fed. It's full every day to collect donations of pet food for this program. And the support has been incredible. We were able to collect 20% more food this year than last year during the same time. And we continue to see our support grow, but the need is also really growing. So we're doing everything we can to continue to support families to the best of our ability.
Thank you so much, Sam, for getting into that. I want to transition over to another program that was started during COVID. That was our temporary pet housing initiative. So Kaylee, could you talk a little bit about that program?
Absolutely. My name is Kaylee. I'm the Director of Animal Care Operations, and our temporary housing program came out of our response to the impacts of COVID-19, including job loss, housing loss, and human health concerns. And as we know, all of those things greatly impact our pets. But for many of those situations, these are temporary circumstances. So the temporary pet housing initiative was a way for ARL to bridge that gap and provide respite for pets and give their owners the peace of mind to focus on their recovery or whatever it is they needed to do to be in a place to take their pets back. And now we've been able to expand that program to include other types of situations as well that might not be COVID related.
Great. So what is the process for determining whether a pet would be eligible for this program?
There are a few different factors we consider aside from our shelter's own capacity for care. The general health of the animal is important. There are limitations on the types of medical care that we can provide to a pet that's not owned by ARL. So any pet coming into the program has to be in stable health. Another factor is temperament. We want to make sure that we can safely and humanely house these animals, as they're going to be with us for longer than a normal shelter animal would be. We ideally get these animals into foster, but that's not always possible or not always possible right away. So we do ask the owners about their pets' experiences with strangers, other animals, things like that.
That makes sense. And how about from the owner's point of view? Is there a situation that would or would not make someone eligible for this program?
Yes, we need to have a point of contact throughout the animal's stay with us, whether that's the owner themselves or a designated guardian. Our program is also not able right now to accommodate chronic needs like homelessness because of the indefinite and often long-term need of those situations. The program works much better for folks who have a defined time period for which they need care for their pet. So we usually start with a couple weeks or 30 days. It can go up to a maximum of 120 days, depending on the circumstances, which is what happened with Fuzzy Butt here. His owner was a veteran who needed temporary housing for Fuzzy Butt. The owner checked in with us every 2 weeks, really wanting to reunite with Fuzzy Butt at the end. Fuzzy Butt was with us for a few months, and most of that time was in a foster home before he was able to be reunited with his dad.
That's wonderful. I remember Fuzzy Butt. He was a great little guy. And I do want to touch on one thing you mentioned, which was that his owner was a veteran. And we do have this new partnership that ARL has embarked upon with New England Center and Home for Veterans. Can you talk a little bit about that partnership?
Sure. New England Center and Home for Veterans helps former service members with a variety of things, including transitioning to permanent housing. So they will sometimes refer clients to our program who have pets and might be at a tight spot. We understand how crucial a pet can be to someone who's trying to transition back into civilian life. So we definitely want to maintain that bond whenever we can. And we're so happy and grateful to partner with an organization like NECHV who can help us do that.
That sounds like a great partnership. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I'm going to transition to our last program that we're featuring today, which is our free pet behavior helpline. So Lainey, could you give us an overview of that program?
Yes, thank you. I'm Lainey Nee. I'm the Animal Behavior Manager, and I have the opportunity to work with the free Pet Behavior Helpline, which was launched back in 2000, and it was originally designed for cats and dogs, but today we provide advice for any domestic species. The helpline is staffed by volunteers, very dedicated volunteers with oversight by our department, and it's basically designed to help pet parents with mild to moderate behavioral issues or questions they might have, such as house training a puppy or excessive barking, litter box issues, those sort of things.
I'm sure there's a lot of conflicting information online that people, might come across in their own research.
Yes, what we pride ourselves on doing is being a way to educate people on any resources that might be out there, because there's so much information or there's a lack thereof. So sometimes there's a lack of feline resources or cat resources out there where there's so much information about dogs, dog training, and all of that. So we want to really be that educational, sending people into the right direction on where to go and how to proceed if we're not able to help them ourselves.
Gotcha. And have you noticed any trends in the data from the helpline?
Yeah, so during COVID, that was probably the time that people really utilized the program, even though it had been a part of the Animal Rescue League for so many years. It actually increased our calls up to 400%. And I think the whole virtual part of it, and also being able to just talk to somebody on the phone, gave people the opportunity and the feeling that they could really utilize the service and feel comfortable getting the help that they might need, especially because of the transitions that pets and people went through during COVID.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I assume that, some of these issues like litter box issues or excessive barking, those are things that could also threaten housing for folks that are renting. Some of these things might make a landlord or a management company not very happy. And so, it all kind of ties in together.
Yes, and I think just being able to be a resource and talk people through it helped them tremendously during that time.
Definitely. So thank you, Lainey. I want to take a moment to highlight some milestones and some other statistics from 2023. The Spay Wagon is approaching a huge milestone, 75,000 total appointments. We have seen a 30% decrease on average in surrendered animals from our target areas where the Wellness Wagon and Keep Pets Safe programs are targeting. We have delivered close to 200,000 nutritious pet meals through that SAFE program. 27 pets were helped this year through our temporary housing program, with almost 700 days in foster care. And the helpline has received almost 300 calls to date. So it's been a busy year. And the Wellness Wagon was actually awarded a Classy Award for social innovation, which is an incredible achievement and definitely something to be proud of. So Sam, for folks listening, if they want to help out with these programs, what can they do?
So the best way to help is by donating. As I mentioned, we have this huge Keep Pet Fed drive. And so all year round, anytime, any minute, we are always looking for food to help that specific program. But our other programs also really benefit from food and supplies. Donating your time by volunteering with us. All of the programs mentioned are run in coordination with volunteers. And these are really, really meaningful opportunities where you get to work with people who have their pets. And it's a very unique situation, a little different than, our traditional shelter volunteer opportunities. You also can donate money. ARL Works is funded by individuals and corporate donations. We don't have any government grants, so every little bit helps for us. But any way to get involved really allows us to continue to keep these programs alive, to let them grow, and to develop new programs.
Thank you so much, Sam. There will be links in the chat on info on how to volunteer, how to donate. If you're listening and you already do some of those things, we really, really appreciate you. We could not do this work without you. I do want to open up the floor to some questions. So it looks like we have some in our Q&A. So let me just take a look. Okay. So let's start with Lainey. I have a two-part question for you. So what is the most common behavior issue you encounter on the helpline? And if the behavior helpline can't address a problem, what is the best next step?
Most recently, we've been getting a lot of dog reactivity and dogs barking at other dogs while walking. So that's been challenging. And for cats, it's still the house soiling issues, but also a lot of people are adopting new pets. And so it's really integrating those new pets in with their resident pets, whether it be cat and dog, dog, cat, whatever. So those probably have been the most popular. If we're not able to help, that's what we love to be able to do, is be a resource for people, a little bit over and above Google, but also being able to steer them in the right direction of what they might need and what might be most helpful for them. And I think just being that sounding board, but also having resources that we trust, they believe in us too, and are able to go in the right direction.
Thank you. This might be a question for either Sam or Kaylee or both. How do you find organizations to partner with?
So I can start. We find organizations to partner with every way that you can imagine. So sometimes it's organizations that we think would be really great to collaborate and to find opportunities where we can have a mutual benefit for both the individuals that we are working with and individuals that they are working with, and finding a natural place where they meet. Sometimes it's by chance. So it's really important to have stakeholders who really understand and know the value of the human animal bond. So with ABCD, we just worked with a lot of really wonderful people who knew that anything that they could do to support families was going to benefit them. And so they were always looking for opportunities to collaborate. And it's been really amazing since we started working with them. New England Center and Home for Veterans was more by chance. There was a stakeholder who had an affiliation with both ARL and that organization. And they said, you know what, you guys should talk. And we initially thought, I don't know how this would work together. And then we started talking to people and we realized that it really was a natural fit to be able to support the same clientele that we were both seeing through our housing programs.
Yeah, and I would say that we do get a lot of requests for partnerships, and any partnership, if we want to do it right, takes resources, it takes time and staffing, et cetera. So we want to make sure that any partnership we enter into is mutually beneficial and also aligned with the mission and goals of ARL.
That makes sense. Well, thank you guys. Let's see. This question is probably for Sam. Have you noticed any trends in the requests for help that we get?
So we get requests for all kinds of things. I think one of the most common trends that we'll see are people who find themselves with an animal, a new pet, or an animal that they may not have intended to have, a family member or passed away or gave an animal away due to circumstances. And they really are looking for anything and everything. And so what's really amazing about the way our programs work is that we can refer them to so many different services. So the Keep Pets Safe program can provide them with food and supplies, sometimes a crate if they're house training a new puppy. We can refer them to the wellness wagon for their vaccines, and even the behavior helpline if they're struggling with house training or struggling with some sort of behavior. And so it's really incredible when we get to have so many touch points with a single family, especially to be able to have so many different programs to support them.
Thank you. So we have a question. What makes ARL different that they don't get grants or government help? It sounds like kind of more of a broad question. So I feel like anyone who feels equipped can answer this one.
I think part of it is our employees. We have really dedicated employees who want to not only help animals, but really help the community that we're in. So we might not have a lot of government help, but we certainly have really passionate employees.
Yes, we certainly wouldn't be able to do the work that we do without our staff and our dedicated volunteers. A lot of animal welfare organizations don't get government grants or government funding. So, you know, we kind of just have to focus on fundraising other ways. Let's see, I think I had answered. Oh, here's one. For Emily, does the wellness wagon operate on a certain schedule? Are they in certain areas on certain days? And how would somebody find that information out?
Yep, so we try to be really consistent with our schedule. So on Mondays, we go to the ABCD in Roxbury. On Wednesdays, we go to the Dorchester ABCD, and Fridays, we go to Mattapan. And then twice a month, we go to East Boston as well. So that we do have flyers that we hand out and make available to clients. And then we also have all of the information on our website. And then for anybody who may not have access to the internet, they can of course call us. They will be prompted to leave a voicemail, but we try to give everybody a call back so we can answer any questions that they have.
Wonderful. And then last question, probably for Kaylee. Have you seen an uptick in surrenders since the start of COVID, or kind of what has the trend been in that way?
We are back to our pre-2019 numbers in terms of intake for animals. So things dipped a little bit when everything closed down in 2020, and it kind of has slowly worked its way back up. So if you're looking just from 2020 to now, sure, we've seen an increase, but this is kind of back to what we have traditionally been doing before 2020 in terms of number of intake of cats and dogs and other animals.
All right, well, that is all that's in the Q&A right now. So I am going to go ahead and wrap things up, but you can always email additional questions if they come up. So thank you so much if you're listening for joining us. We really appreciate the time that you took to learn about ARL's programs. Thank you to our panel for, explaining everything and just walking us through all of that. We really appreciate it. And thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you have a great day.